Cable Guy Ken here real quick, y'all. Just trying to pass some time on a Sunday. Figured I'd do a little video, update you a little bit more on some bamboo uses. I meant to do this a couple of weeks ago. I've had this sitting here for a couple of weeks and just didn't have time, and the weather wouldn't permit me to, you know, with everything that's going on with our weather. It's just been kind of crazy and my work schedule and all, but I've got about a 4.5 foot piece of bamboo here, about 2 inches around. Now this stuff weighs, you know, nothing. It's real lightweight, easy enough to maneuver and all. Makes an awesome walking stick. Now this one, I said, after, you know, 2-3 weeks of sitting out in the sun and the rain, it's starting to split on me a little bit at the end. But you can see I've taken it and I've cut down into it maybe about 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, and then just split it down and then shave this off into a little bit of a point. Made me a nice little digging tool. I said it's not going to last forever, but then again, neither's a stick. But this acts real good as a digging tool because you can really get into the dirt and pull out, you know, a good chunk of it at a time. I said it makes a pretty hefty, you know, walking stick. Plus that little tip on the end, you know, it don't take much to sharpen it. It doesn't take much to bring it to a little bit of an edge. Like I said, this has been sitting out here a while, so it's split up on me a little bit. Gonna make a liar out of Mr. Ken today, but you can file that on down into a little bit of an edge, and if need be, that would do some damage on predator of the 4-legged or the 2-legged kind. And believe me, there's all kind of predators out there. They aren't always wearing fur. So that's just one little thing that I've done with it for a while. Like I said, it's not going to last forever. As it dries, it will start to split on you eventually, especially if you've opened it up any. Now the other end, if you cut it close to that little node and you don't cut the end of it off at any kind of an angle or anything, it'll last you a long time. And this stuff is strong. You know, it's thick enough that it takes a whole, you know, a good bit of weight. So if you need a good walking stick, something like this in my book is preferable over a limb of the same size, just because of the little bit of weight that it has. You know, it's a lot easier to carry this all day than it is a piece of hickory or oak of the same size, because it probably weighs about a fourth as much, but yet it's still strong and sturdy, and just has so many uses to it. I said I can split this down, make a fire saw, and get me a fire going with it. Can take the outside of it. I'm trying to scrape these off so they don't fall, but y'all have seen that. Get my tinder off of it, and I have not weakened this any at all because I'm taking such a tissue paper thin piece off of the outside of it that I'm not hurting it. So it's just a really super versatile, you know, piece of wildlife, a piece of nature. The other thing I've done is, I know everybody has made a spear out of bamboo or what have you before. You've all seen it before. But what I do a little bit different than most people, and I've just got a piece of wire around that so it won't split open on me any more than what it already has. There goes my walking stick. What I've done is I have split the end of this into fourths just by batoning into it just a little bit. It doesn't take much to split bamboo. I've taken and sharpened the points of them off. Now I know everybody knows this. You take another piece of wood and you put it down inside of the bamboo, and as you push it down in there, it spreads the prongs open, thus making a really good jig, you know, for jigging fish, small animals, frogs, snakes, what have you. The problem is when you push this all the way down in there, it spreads these prongs open like such. Now as you try to spear something, they're going in at a really steep angle, putting a lot of resistance into getting these prongs through the flesh of an animal with relative ease. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's worked for a long time. But one thing I looked at and I thought about was, I can put this piece of bamboo or wood, whatever you're going to use, down inside of it, and it's in there. It's not going anywhere. Now as I go and I spear whatever item I'm trying to spear, the points are all lined up relatively straight with each other, so they're going to go right into the flesh. If I can keep shaking here, y'all. They're going right into the flesh, and then as soon as they get inside, they'll contact that little piece of wood, and as you push, it spreads your prongs open. So now the prongs are spread open on your prey, and they're offering resistance on pulling this out. So if you spear something, you know, a little bit larger than you know, your average fish, say you spear a good, you know, 3-pound catfish with this, it's not going to just pull right out, because these prongs are now opened up more, offering more resistance on the out pull. Then when you pull your item up out of the water, or you pull it back to you, say it's a, you know, a decent sized rabbit or something, you pull it back out, all you got to do is take a stick or your knife, put it up against the plug, and as you pull it, it's closing those prongs back up and pulling this out of the animal, and you're not doing as much damage to your meat. And if you're really in a survival situation, you know, you don't want to destroy, say you got a 1-pound fish, and when you spear this thing with a, you know, with the spear tips wide open like that, you're ripping all that meat apart. I have speared brim and actually took chunks off of them, but by doing this, you're spearing straight into the flesh. Then it's spreading open as you slide it, you know, as you go into that animal, and it's locking onto it, but it's not tearing the meat up as much. So you're really saving a lot of your meat just by making one simple little change to what, you know, we've all seen done. It just makes it a lot easier. Makes it a lot easier to get the animal off as well, because when you pull this back out, you're going to do even more damage to the meat. But by putting that in so that it slides with it, as it goes in, it opens the prongs up. As you pull it off, the prongs close back down again and come off. So you're doing a little bit less damage to your meat and making it a lot easier to catch what you're trying to spear with it. So, just a couple of things, y'all. Everybody knows you can use these as atlatls. I've even got a notch cut in the back of this one so that I can use it as a Swiss dart or a Pathfinder arrow, as Dave calls them, just by using a piece of paracord wrapped around it and pulling the paracord down to my hand. Makes it kind of like a cord type atlatl. This stuff is just phenomenal. I'm looking for some right now that I can send off to a few of my brothers. They've requested some, so I've got to find some that I can pack off to them. I want it to be, you know, good and dry and good size and all, so they can make fire saws and stuff like that with it. And I'm really looking for some small enough. This would just about do it if I hadn't to cut the end off, but I'd like it to be a little bit smaller because they make awesome fishing poles. I mean, people have fished with cane poles all their lives, but there's a species of this bamboo that grows right here in my hometown that is perfect for making fishing poles out of. It's got a real flexible tip to it that is still real strong, so it makes really good for catching brim and panfish, stuff like that. And like I say, it's easy to work with. And it's free. I mean, it's probably one of the most widely renewable resources we have here in the South, because this stuff just keeps growing and growing and growing.